we've had some pretty big high-profile cases in recent years. Right now, we've just received the indictment from the grand jury in the Botham murder. I say murder; it's the murder indictment,
Yes.
and we'll see how the legal process works out in that respect. But we had the conviction of Roy Oliver, the police officer, in the Jordan Edwards killing as well, and then going back to 2016 and the shooting of the Dallas police officers.
Yes.
There's a sense that law enforcement is also under siege,
Yeah.
and so we're wrestling now with how to bring about a sense of equal justice across racial and ethnic lines, to have respect for the role of police, and yet to recognize that it feels like things have not been equally applied in policing and in the judicial system. So where do you see Dallas right now? What's the temperature of this? Where do you think we are? It feels to me like we're a bit at a pivotal point, that if we can get through this next period of time toward a more just application, it will be helpful. And if we don't, we're teeming with an awful lot of pent up history that's going to explode on us.
I just want to say amen to everything you just said, George. I do think that our city is at a and not just, our city is reflective of our country, I believe also.
Yes.
And I also believe that that if we do this right, that I think Dallas can help navigate and lead the nation in some ways.
Right.
I think we're doing it economically.
Yes.
I mean, we're and when you look at all jobs reports and economic indicators and leaders, I mean the city, North Texas has been a leader, and I think it's time for us to step up from a social justice and socially and also lead, and that's probably a call for business.
Yes.
To show up.
Yes.
And sometimes and I think those in business care, but I don't know if we've given them a space at the table where they don't feel like they are going to get beat down.
Right.
But a place at the table, and also, from a business standpoint, it's all about what's practical, what's pragmatic. If let's set some goals, objectives, and let's move it forward.
Right.
And so if we can, clearly define, because what does justice? I mean, we know in the Botham shooting, for many of us, justice means a murder conviction. But what does justice reform, and what is it? What are some of the forces that need to happen in order to improve how policing is done?
Well, okay. So, for example, we can't prejudge what a jury is going to decide in the Botham case. The fact that there was a murder indictment only suggests that there was adequate evidence to move forward with a murder charge. And we don't know whether the standard of proof will be met for that or not. But I think what many people don't realize is that, when Amber Geiger, who is the shooter, the police officer who shot Botham Jean, is allowed to remain free for how many days? 3 days, I believe it was, after the shooting, when she's not permitted to be questioned for 72 hours. And during that period of time, stories then are able to be, concocted to suggest alternative narratives of the way things took place. When the Texas Rangers are called in on the surface to say that this is, we want to be impartial, and we're not just going to do this in-house, but then immediately they recommend a manslaughter charge instead of a murder charge to be done. All these things suggest this is not the way it would happen if the tables were turned.
I agree.
So when people look at this and say, well, we should just let the process work, because we should just trust the situation. Well, If it worked the same for everyone,
Nope.
then we wouldn't have this question.
Yeah.
But repeatedly, it feels like, although she might not have had any knowledge of who it was that she was shooting, we don't know that yet, even whether she knew who was in that apartment, and therefore, was it racially tinged in terms of bias or not? We don't know.
No.
But we do know that that exists.
Yes.
Implicit bias. So what we're talking about here is not just a one-off situation of this particular case, but the whole history of the way these things come down in communities over time.
Yes, yes. And I think that's, and let me say this, I think what makes the Botham Jean shooting unique and an opportunity is because, Botham Jean was, I hate to put in these terms, he was the right personality.
Yes.
Educated, good, God-fearing young man, led the praise team at his church.
Right.
He worked for, one of the big, accounting firms and was on the trajectory. I mean, it was said that he potentially go back to St. Lucia
to run for president of St. Lucia. Exactly.
And so I think he becomes the kind of poster child.
Yes.
Or that I think, in my opinion, and I think we have to leverage and use every resource and every opportunity to move, this agenda for justice forward, because people who normally don't pay attention actually are paying attention.
Well, they are, and I suppose this is human nature, that because it's Botham Jean and he is the poster child of character and all of that, we are paying more attention. But let's be clear about the fact that if you are a young white male who is arrested for using marijuana or for drunken driving or whatever the case may be, over and over again, that's not considered to be a character flaw somehow. It's just growing up. But when an African American young man has the very same kinds of behavior, we justify the way he's treated by the police differently, and and whatever sentencing comes down, and then so where Botham Jean is concerned, I really have to say that I feel like, yes, you're right, he is the ideal person in this case, but that's unfortunate that we would even say that, right? Because we would want every one of our children to be treated even if he weren't in that fashion.
And where I'm going with that is that his shooting I think helps to awaken and engage some people that
would not have been otherwise.
Would not have been. I mean, I've gotten calls from people who are business leaders. This was never on their radar. It's now on their conversation around police involved shootings, and also the tension and the unrest that is created and has existed. But somehow Botham has awakened it, not in the black community or in communities of color, but in communities that are not aware. And I think that helps those of us who want to see justice move forward. You have to leverage that. And I just believe, in sports, I mean, you got to use every resource known to get in the end zone. If you got to do a trick play, whatever it is, we got to score.